Well, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, more than 31% of Americans experience an anxiety disorder at some point in their lifetime. An anxiety disorder, that is.
Yeah, and that anxiety can interfere with many parts of your daily lives, including the ability to get a good night's sleep. So today, we're talking about ways to calm your minds, hopefully, get some of that much needed rest. Joining us now, once again, is Dr. Michael Breus, better known as the Sleep Doctor. So good to see you. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me, as always. I know you guys have got some sleep challenges. I'm here to help you out.
Yeah, and I'm one of those people, right? And I've been very open that I have suffer from anxiety, and sleep is just, it's when the most of it comes out. So let's talk about the relationship between anxiety and sleep, because it feels like the two can just create such a vicious cycle.
So there's no question about it that that's exactly what we see is people have anxiety about going to sleep. Then once they get there, they start thinking about their sleep, which forces them to not be able to sleep. And you start this repetition over and over and over. And once again, a lot of it has to do with our mental set when we're walking into bed, thinking through some of the ideas, ways to reduce anxiety before bed. It's kind of like giving yourself some runway to land the plane as opposed to just waiting until you're so exhausted that you're falling over.
And doctor, you know, a lot of people just accept it as the norm. Like, look, I have insomnia or whatever else the issue is. But at what point should someone say, look, it is time to get help?
So great question. I call it the rule of threes. So if you are having difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep more than 3 nights per week for more than 3 weeks in a month for longer than 3 months, that is officially a diagnosis of insomnia. So if you're in that zone, if you will, it's probably reasonable to talk with your doctor. Okay. Now, the first thing to remember, though, is you don't want to necessarily jump for a pill or a potion or something like that to make you go to sleep. You want to look at your surroundings. You want to see if there's something holistically that you can do without ingesting something first to see if that's a possibility. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sleeping pills. There was a new sleeping pill that was actually just approved by the FDA 2 weeks ago. But at the end of the day, let's use pharmacy as a last resort, not as a first resort.
Right. So you're saying 35 years in, 36 years in, I may have an issue. Okay, so let's talk about the ways to try to manage that anxiety, right? Especially before bed. For me personally, doctor, that's when the most of it comes out. And it may be because I work an early shift, so I begin that counting. You look at the clock, you're like, okay, I have 6 hours of sleep. But you say you have a breathing technique to help you maybe fall asleep faster.
I do. It's called 4-7-8 breathing. To be clear, I did not come up with this technique. It was developed by Dr. Andrew Weil, and it's being used with the Navy SEALs. But you inhale for 4 seconds, you then hold your breath for 7 seconds, then you exhale slowly for 8 seconds. Now, let me explain to you the science behind why you do this. You would repeat this about 6 or 8 times. When you breathe in, obviously filling your lungs with oxygen. The exhale, the extended exhale, dumps excess carbon dioxide out of your system. So that allows for you to breathe in fresh air, which then allows your heart rate to slow down. The key thing here is you want a heart rate of 60 or below to enter into a state of unconsciousness.
So here's the thing. Are you inhaling and exhaling through your nose? Are you inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your mouth?
Great question. You can do either, whatever is most comfortable for you. For people with nasal congestion, you can do it through your mouth, but it is best to do it through your nose with your mouth closed.
Great tip. Doctor, when we've had you on in the past, you talked about the importance of following, this is hard, a consistent sleep schedule. Can this also help out?
So this is probably, if people take one thing away from what I'm talking about today, it's consistency in your wake-up time. Now, for you guys, that wouldn't necessarily make sense because you're waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 or 5 days a week. I wouldn't want you to do that on your days off. But for most of us out there, keeping that consistent wake-up time keeps our internal biological rhythms consistent, and that's what allows our brain to know when to sleep so we fall asleep more quickly and stay asleep longer.
So is there something to be said then about, you know, the Feng Shui of a room, like optimizing your environment, right? So that it can help with the way you sleep. Because some people have said, well, your bed should be shifting and facing a different way, so on and so forth.
So there's a lot of commonalities in the Feng Shui universe, plus in what we've learned about sleep environments, oddly enough. Which is great because we can marry those two ideas and have some fun with it. So first of all, sleeping in a cluttered bedroom is not fun because you look around and all you see is dirty laundry and books everywhere and things like that. It's not a serene environment. So keeping as clean, a serene environment as you possibly can is going to be important. But also things like temperature turn out to be a really big deal. So now during the winter, people actually sleep better in the cold.
Yeah.
Want to keep it somewhere between, like, if you can, 65 and about 75 degrees. Probably don't even want to go as high as 75 degrees. But keeping that environment cooler, darker, and as quiet as possible are all going to be things that can be helpful for folks who are having difficulty with sleep.
Huh. Very interesting. I love clutter. So that, you know, it really, I guess I got
to talk to my husband about
that. It explains a lot.
Yeah. But and I think it's also really important to get into a made bed, right? Some people get into an unmade bed, and there's just like a psychological thing.
Yeah.
There's actually data on this. So a group did a study looking at if you make your bed versus you don't make your bed, and people who make their bed every day actually have better sleep.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, but it has to do with having a ritual and knowing when to start something and when to stop something. So you're absolutely right. I mean, and don't forget, rituals can be very important.
Right.
Another aspect that I talk about with many of my patients is called the power down hour. This is the last hour before bed. You chop it up into 3 20-minute segments. So 20 minutes for stuff you just got to do, 20 minutes for hygiene, and then 20 minutes for some form of meditation or relaxation, which kind of gives us that space to be able to slowly relax before bed.
Got it.
All right. Also turning down the tech, that also helps.
Yeah.
Dr. Michael Breus.
We love you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Great tips.
Thanks, bud. You guys have a good one.
You
Stay
too.
dry and stay out of the snow. Holy cow.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
All right,
too.
thank you
Stay
very
warm.
much. Yeah, sometimes I make the bed just to then get into it.
You don't strike me as someone that likes clutter.
I love clutter.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's something, it's like a weird thing about me. I'm very like pristine, pristine.
Yeah.
Love clutter.